Steve, do you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Before we get started, I want to mention that Mayor Benetti is joining us virtually tonight. The next item on our agenda is public comments. I have a couple that are signed up here. Steve, do you want to come up first?
Remember, you have 3 minutes, and I'll be signaling we have 1 minute left.
Okay, I'll try to do it in that 3-minute time. Steve Schneiderman, 2340 Seaway Drive here in Coos Bay. And I hate to start out complaining that North Bend can do something that Coos Bay can't do, but it seems that North Bend is in possession of something that belongs here in Coos Bay, and that's the Bus Jam Trophy. And it's that time of year again, and it's been a couple years since I've reported to this council, but believe it or not, the Bus Jam is in its 21st year. And it's the Bus Jam toy and food drive, and now it's merged with the Bikes for Tykes event. So it's all one big event supporting this community. And the event this year, the first part is the December 3rd collection event, and that's at both Bi-Marts, Coos Bay, North Bend, and then down in Bandon at US Cellular. And it's from 10 to 3, and it's a great event. People bring their non-perishable foods, their toys, and jam the buses full of these items. So, like I said, it's the 21st year, and in these previous 20 years, we have collected and distributed 330,000 pounds of food at these events, which is just absolutely fantastic of this community. 53,000 toys, 42,000 stocking stuffers, and benefiting nearly 11,000 children in our community. So like I said, we kick off with that. This actually started back in October when the little train cars, the speeders, came to town. And that kicks off the toy drive, and it just gets the event going. Now tomorrow there's an event at McKay's, and there's a shopping spree at 8 a.m. competing the superintendents of Coos Bay and North Bend schools, and they have 90 seconds to stuff their food carts. We have early drop-off locations throughout the county and in Reedsport, and they're all ready to receive the donations. And there's a list of those locations available at busjam.com. And I guess I gotta speed this up a little bit because there's a lot of information to get. Then next week is the distribution event, and that once again is at the Boys and Girls Club. And we just appreciate the partnership with Boys and Girls Club allowing us to use that facility. We occupy it for almost a week between taking all the stuff that's collected at Bus Jam Collection Day, taking over there, then Coos Bay North Bend Rotary starts setting up and puts everything in categories for age groups and everything. And then we work through Oregon Coast Community Action, and they screen applicants, and then they're scheduled for times. When COVID started, we just couldn't make it a free-for-all, so they have scheduled times that they come in and do their shopping. We have a great partnership with the Mill Casino. They offer $5 in free slot play and 50 entries into their giving back drawing for people that bring in 5 cans of food or 5 packages of non-perishable food items that aren't expired, and that's at the Mill Club booth. Inland Point Retirement Facility is hosting a movie night December 3rd at the Egyptian. Cost of admission is a non-perishable food item, and that's going to be another great event. Three Rivers Casino in Coos Bay is collecting 3 cans of food or a new unwrapped toy in exchange for $5 in slot play. KDOC Radio and Northwest Natural are putting on the shopping spree tomorrow at McKay's. And if you want a lot of fun, go watch these people shop. 90 seconds, and they're going crazy with their shopping carts. Sometimes they play bumper cars. And like I said, the superintendent of Coos Bay and North Bend School District will compete against that. I think Councilor Kilmer will be leading the crew at North Bend Bi-Mart, and I assume Mike the Bear will be leading at Coos Bay Bi-Mart, but it's time to get the trophy back in Coos Bay. So I'm going to leave this set up, so remind everybody about Bus Jam during the rest of your meeting, and if anybody has any questions for me to answer, I'll be glad to do that.
Steve, I just had one question.
Yes.
It was just 1 year that the city of Coos Bay lost the award for quite a few years. Is that correct?
I cannot confirm or deny, but the trophy currently is not here.
Okay.
And it's got to come back.
Great. Thank you.
I just want to also note that while I was doing a short stint working for the city of North Bend, I had the opportunity several times to be in their city administrator's office, and I figured it wouldn't pass the four-way test for me to try to sneak that out of City Hall. So that I just wanted to put that out there, that I did try.
The Bus Jam is probably the premier event of this community in giving back, and I know we have a lot of Rotarians in the room, and we're all proud to be a part of that organization and proud of all our community partners that make that a success. So, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Steve. The next name I have here is Dr. Mark May.
I'm an old retired anesthesiologist. I moved here in 1979, and I've lived in the same house at the corner of 9th and Date since then. I retired 11 years ago. I try to make a point of walking my two wiener dogs across 10th Street down to Mingus Park every day that the weather permits. I'm lucky to be here and be alive because one cannot see down 10th Street because there's a hill and there's vehicles parked on the east side of the street. And it's not until you get out into the intersection and pray that people see you and stop. Today I had 5 vehicles tailgating each other coming up the hill. I mean, I was speechless. I've notified the city probably 10 years ago, and it might have been the streets manager who actually took it upon himself to speak to the owner at 784 North 10th, asking him not to park both of his pickup trucks. Even though they're not in the yellow no parking zone, you just cannot see down the street. And he was nice enough to move one of his vehicles, but it's still a problem. I have pointed out to the occasional policeman, I've invited them to come to the corner, in their vehicles, can you see down the street at the upcoming traffic? And no, they can't. I can't see them in my car. You have to sneak out really, really slowly and hope you don't get hit. And then, like I said, as today, myself and my 2 wiener dogs almost got run over. And so, in my mind, something needs to be done about that. And I passed around my notes and photographs I took this morning down the street. And the possible solutions are to extend the yellow zone, the no parking zone, though there apparently is some guideline for the city that can't be more than 30 feet from an intersection. I would think that public safety should override that. Another thing that could be done, has been done elsewhere in the city, is that crosswalk, the button you push, flashing lights. I know that's done lower down at the entrance to Mingus Park. It could be done at that intersection. The crossing area, the paint has all faded. The paint could be moved 25 feet to the north, so both the pedestrian and the vehicles would have a better chance of seeing you. The speed limit there is 25 miles an hour. I'm probably guilty of it too, but people do more than that. And so, perhaps a speed bump. coming up the hill could be installed. And I'm not sure what other solutions there are to the problem, but I mean, the other solution for me is not to cross there and to walk down, however far that is down to Minks Park and cross at that flashing light, or 25 feet to the north to cross the street where it's not marked, and hopefully the drivers coming up would be able to see me better and my dogs better. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. May. Jim, do you want to address this?
Well, one thing, I think Dr. May is correct in his observations, what he sees there. It's a challenging intersection, both for pedestrians and drivers. We've looked at possible solutions. One was that no parking zone that was created. We yellowed the curbing, but it hasn't solved the problem completely. What I would suggest is we could, if council desires, we could get a traffic engineer to take a closer look and give us some recommendations on what we might be able to do to improve site visibility there.
Do you need a consensus from us tonight, or no?
Well, we can take care of it.
Okay. It sounds like we're going to enlist a traffic engineer to look at that for you and see if we can find
Yeah,
a
I appreciate
solution.
anything you can do. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Roger, when we come up with a solution, will we send a letter to Dr. May?
We can do that, and we'll report back to the council.
Great, thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to make a public comment for a topic that is not on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item. And by the way, I'd like to point out, it looks like Councilor Matthews is joining us virtually as well. Item number 3 is the consent calendar.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Any further discussion? I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4 is a report by Marshfield High School Key Club members. I believe Harper is here. Harper Thompson.
Hello everyone, hello counselors, hello mayor. I'll first start off by thanking you for allowing me and my club to be here tonight to represent not only Marshfield but the Coos Bay School District. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Harper Thompson. I'm 17 years old and I go to Marshfield Senior High School. I'm not only a member of the Marshfield Key Club, I also serve as the Lieutenant Governor of Pacific Northwest Division 76 of Key Club International. I'm the president of the Marshfield CERT program, which stands for Community Emergency Response Team. With that, I also serve as a board member on the Coos County CERT Board, and as of last year, I'm a council member of the Coos Bay School District Site Council. And on top of that, I'm a student athlete with the Marshfield Track and Field, where I throw discus and shot put. Now that you know a little bit about myself, I'll explain why I'm here, why me and my club are here, and what purpose we hope to serve. Key Club is the oldest and largest student-led organization in the world, with clubs in over 38 countries and hundreds of thousands of members worldwide. Key Club, part of the Kiwanis organization, or community service organizations focused on creating leadership opportunities for young people. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, it was not uncommon to have representatives from our club, along with past advisor Stacy Gulseth, present and doing what I'm doing right now. Being an organization that focuses on community involvement, what better place to do that than the City Council? Another vital reason the club and I are here is to ensure that all future projects that may possibly need, for example, council approval or council input, are properly navigated. And with that, I'll share with you the reason I'm here. In 8th grade, I joined Key Club and I heard of our involvement in the City Council. I was immediately intrigued and interested, and from that day on, I had one day hoped to hold a position of such value to my club. And now, almost 4 years later, a junior in high school and a lieutenant governor dedicated to strengthening and fostering new community relationships. And lastly, a student wanting to someday hold a position in local government. Finally, I will give the council an update on what the club's been up to since about mid-August to present day, along with a project update for National Honor Society and Science National Honor Society at the high school. In August, the club had its first formal officer meeting. In the meeting, the board passed several bylaw amendments, along with formation and adoption of our budget, along with the adoption of our new club meeting dates for general and officer meetings. General meetings are held every Tuesday during lunch in room Pirate 405, and officer meetings Friday mornings starting at 7:15 in room 405 virtually or in the public library meeting rooms. On September 17th, we participated in the Bay Area Fun Festival. Club President Esmeralda Milan led the project, handling all the communication with Knife River Corporation, who gave us not only a trailer, but a truck and a driver too for no extra fee or charge. So huge shout out to Knife River. They've been huge supporters of our club for a long time, and hopefully that'll continue for a long time more. The very next weekend, Marshfield Key Club hosted concessions for the Lions Club volleyball tournament at the high school and junior high. This is one of our first fundraising opportunities that we get every year, so we're very thankful for them to let us do that. In addition, we also worked 3 concessions for the Marshfield High School Booster Club, most notably our homecoming football game, which we won. Go Marshfield. In the month of October, Key Club is already in the holiday spirit, as over the last 2 weeks, we've already begun stringing Christmas lights at the Oregon Coast Historical Railway Museum. Every Saturday, we spend usually about 3 to 4 weekends putting them up, and then after the holiday season is over, we spend about 3 to 4 taking them down. As well as the train lights, the club also has applied at this year's Shore Acre Lights. So if you and your family are planning on attending at some point in the next month, make sure to check out Plot 13. And I did promise the people there that we would relay that you do have to register and reserve a time. Very clear on it. And next will be our Science National Honor Society from Marshfield High School had a very successful day, or work day, at the cemetery on Saturday the 12th. Also, the Honor Society at Marshfield had a great display from the front lawn honoring the 13 young Vietnam veterans from Marshfield. This display was extra special as it was the 40th anniversary of the Vietnam Wall in Washington, D.C. Back to Key Club. This month, the club has started discussions on plans to attend the Pacific Northwest Convention in March of 2023. So that's mainly fundraising opportunities to help pay for it, because it is a very expensive event. And as winter holiday season is approaching, a little too quick if you ask me, but nevertheless, we're now asking members, members are now being asked if they have any holiday projects or ideas, and if so, they can announce them at a general club meeting, or we have an online submission form. Once an idea is submitted, it's looked over by the officer board, and from there on, it is added to the next meeting agenda for discussion and possible vote. Once approved by the delegate board, the project will be sent to the activities committee to be carried out. So by the next time I'm up at the podium, I hope we have some more fun stuff planned and ready to talk about. And in the city council meetings to come, we're also hoping to report on other activities at the high school, like ASB involvement, GSA, and some new programs at the high school that that emerged over the pandemic and haven't really gotten a proper introduction to the community. So if there's any questions, I can take those or clarify. But other than that,
Do you guys have any questions?
I don't have any questions. It's just nice to see you here, and
it's wonderful.
not
to be
that I
back.
would ever encourage anyone to skip school, but you know that the shopping cart trophy is on the line tomorrow morning.
I do, and I will be. So.
I just want to commend you for, I don't know how you have any time to study, given all of your extracurricular activities, and it's clear that you've excelled in your roles, and to stand up here and to give us such a informative presentation with such confidence. Well done, you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harper. As a proud Marshfield High School graduate, I'm so happy to have the Key Club back here to give us updates.
And it's an honor to be back. It's been a long time coming. Thank you very much.
Item number 5 is presentation by Coquille Indian Tribe Board Chair Brenda Mead. Hello.
Madam Chair.
Well, good evening, Mayor Benetti, City Council members. It's so good to be here tonight with you all. Thank you so much for some of your time today and the ability to give you an update on some of the work that the Coquille Indian Tribe has been doing on our salmon recovery efforts on the Coquille River. I just first want to say to you, Daisla, greetings, friends, and also recognize just our appreciation for your support as the City of Coos Bay, for the Coquille Indian Tribe, and our initial conversations about really, as we were trying to to make some hard decisions on whether the tribe was going to step in as support for the state of Oregon as co-managers for the issues we were seeing on the Coquille River. So I first just want to say thank you. Thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your support in those efforts. And I look forward to updating you on some of the activities we have been working on along with many of our community partners and with ODF&W in the state too. Thank you, Clark. Clark has put together a slideshow just to share some of the amazing work that many of our volunteers have done. And you will see partners from ODF&W, Coquille Step, just anyone in the community that had boots on and wanted to know what was happening on the Coquille River. It's been an incredible last year and a half for us. For right now, though, we have had excellent results on the Coquille River Falls Chinook in 2022. This year, we are celebrating approximately 150 breeding pairs have been collected and are at Bandon Hatchery at Ferry Creek. This collection of this amount of fish is a record for the Coquille River. The most fish that have been collected, broodstock collection, in the last 20 years that we have numbers for from ODF&W. We have some excitement, I have to say. We feel pretty blessed that we have walked into this work and have seen such successes for this year. We've had a lot of what ifs to address, just trying to get a grasp on the issues that we were facing and the reports that we were getting. Just as a reminder, it was not so long ago in 2020 that I came to you all and shared with you what we knew was happening on the Coquille River, and that was that we were near extinction levels. There were only 3 pair of broodstock that were collected on the Coquille River in 2020. That was all of the collection that ODF&W was able to do in 2020. That is when the tribe reached out to many of you all, community partners, city councils, county commissioners, and just said, we have a crisis, you know, we're going to look to step into this as support system for the state of Oregon. Instead of shame and blame, we really wanted to talk about solutions and how we could all come together and help. We recognized that it was going to take community involvement, it was going to take local government, it was going to take the tribe to bring in the federal funding, and ODF&W couldn't do it by themselves. And that's where we began, was just reaching out to all of you. We recognized that we had a number of things we could address, and one of the things last summer, we began electrofishing, dealing with an invasive species that we knew was devastating our salmon populations in the river. This was something that we knew we immediately had to address. No matter what fish we put into the river, whatever we could gather we were going to need to get in there and get rid of that population. It was a massive eating machine, and it was going to devour everything we put back in there. So electrofishing became one of those priorities for us to put efforts into. That's some of our tribal staff. On one of the, I believe that's an ODF&W boat, you'll see the little claws out front. They put an electro surge into the river, and then you net the fish and take them out of the system. We also recognized that for 2021, we were struggling with the infrastructure we needed to collect those fish. So we, all boots on the ground, went out and we began collecting broodstock in nets. Netting broodstock is not so ideal a solution, but it was really about getting those fish out of the system before the seals and the predation was able to affect those changes. This was, again, community partners coming together out there in the river, catching fish as fast as they could. We did see improvements for 2021. We went from 3 pair in 2020, 2021 we went to 24 pair. We were pretty happy. We were shooting for 75 pair, but we felt blessed, and we knew that we were going to be able to start putting fish into the system and put it into different areas as well. The Coquille Indian tribe, looking at ODFNW's hopes and dreams, they look to want to have access to a certain area in the river where the water's still cool enough to put those fish, and we were blessed to be able to purchase the property that they were looking at on Lampa Creek. So we were able to begin acclimating these fish into the system in different areas and at different times, so we would have different growth and start expanding that. These steps, though, that we were taking, there's others too. Habitat restoration is another key issue that we need to address because of the water quality, the temperatures of the river. We have to look at habitat restoration projects. That is something that is more long-term, but we were able to bring in a little over $2 million in a grant that began that work this year in 2022 with some of our partners, Coquille Watershed Association, ODFNW, and many others. Again, landowners and Coquille Step. We love our Coquille Step volunteers. They've been amazing. More notably for this season, we began working for 2022 with Coquille Step, and some of those folks, just the knowledge that they have from previous work, we look to create and build better system for catching these salmon that come into the Ferry Creek area. We knew that we had to address the seals that were coming into the system. They built a seal excluder that was placed at the very mouth of the creek, which is exactly what needed to be done. They also put in a system that controlled the water flow a little better, and then built this, we called it a Cadillac, fish trap, which it was incredible. These guys, all volunteer hours, the tribe supported with supplies, other businesses supported as well. Again, we relied on our volunteers, and hundreds of volunteers came out. I do have to point out these pictures. You'll notice some of these people, business owners, tribal staff, again, volunteers. It's just been amazing what happened. And with this work, that the trap, the ability to get into the system and work right side by side with ODFNW has allowed us, I'll give some credit to the ocean conditions too, though we didn't affect that, but it was excellent ocean conditions this year as well. You can ask any of the fishermen. All of these things came together. We'll say blessings and prayers too, and that's how we got those 150 pair. That's how they pulled them out of the river, and it was a lot of work for our folks to pull all those fish out. A little over 300 fish came out. Some jacks were collected as well, but also some wild fish, and we're pretty happy about that. With our abundance of brood stock this year, we will be producing hundreds of thousands of eggs this year. And I think the numbers we are hearing right now is we will be looking at putting 500,000 smolt into our Coquille River system this year. And that is incredible, number one. Number two, this is still within the Coquille River Management Plan, so we are pushing hard to not have any waste. That's one of the important things for us, is if these fish come back, that we're prepared to take care of them, and that's what we're going to do. So eggs are being collected still. and incubated in various locations because there's not enough room at the Coquille abandoned hatchery. So some of them will be going to other hatcheries. We're going to fill them up and just make sure that we're taking care of them. They're going to go into the system in different places, not just at Ferry Creek. We're going to be, we're negotiating those areas. It'll be within the CMP, which is, it does allow for us to do hatch boxes into the river system at different locations. So we are right now focusing on where those are going to go. It is our hope that these fish will go up and down the river, not just in one spot, to allow them to begin their cycle again and be in a natural setting. Again, our goal is no waste. This is important for the Coquille Indian tribe. We are taught that you use only what you need and you leave some for the others. And this is exactly what this is about. We have received these blessings and we now want to put every fish into productivity in the river system in the best way possible. And I think it's a goal that we are challenged to explain to ODF&W and in that understanding of these are for the next generations and for our community. For the future, our Bass Patrol rides again. We have a great crew that comes out and runs those bass boats. We have a certain time of year that we can run those, usually summer through close to fall. We're careful with the coho. When the coho start coming in, we're pretty much done, but they've taken thousands and thousands of smallmouth bass out of this system. And we're going to keep at it. This is never going to go away. We're always going to have to address these issues. We're just going to have to try and keep them down enough to allow the salmon to be able to come into the system. Again, our partners, we've had great support. The Port of Coquille in Myrtle Point, again, will be resuming their bass derbies. Love them. Just another piece of that that's moving in different directions. The community loved it. All the kids out there fishing for bass, it was beautiful. There is still $1,000 fish out there for this year, and we're looking forward to just seeing everyone come back out and help us get those fish out of there and give our salmon some hope. Our goal for 2023 and some of our priority work is going to be around hopefully future legislation to empower local landowners the ability to, for those who are interested in doing habitat restoration work on their land that is on the Coquille River, we're going to try to find a solution to streamline the process that the state of Oregon has in place to do these projects. Today, it is an incredible feat to get all of the permits you need to be able to do the work that that is needed on the river. Not only the time, but you practically need a lawyer to go through this system and to understand all the permits and the applications to do this. Not only is it expensive, but it's cumbersome, and it's not finding solutions for landowners to be able to do that and still run their ranches or their businesses or raise their kids. So as we're looking at grants for this habitat work, we believe that we have partners, landowners that are interested. If we can find a way to cut this process down in time, these grants that we get are usually, you need to spend them within a year or two. You're probably familiar with those. And this process, the state process, cannot take 5 years for a landowner to have to do this. So we're going to be working on cutting through some red tape with the state of Oregon. Whether our government supports that in a different way, could be. But we have to say we appreciate Representative Boomer Wright and also David Brock-Smith. We've had some great support in legislation needed to keep this work going. So we have a lot of work to do still. we'll continue with just trying to get those fish in the system. We loved having our kids out there pulling those big 30-pound salmon out of the river in nets. We're teaching the next generations, and that's all we can hope for. I, too, just want to say it's important that you all understand and that our community understands the reason that the Coquille Indian Tribe is doing this. There are many reasons, whether it's for cultural heritage, our cultural teachings for our young people, the fact that these relatives have been in this system since time began along with Coquille Indian Tribe. But it's also about recreational fishing. It's about everyone wanting to get their kids out there and experiencing catching a 30-pound fish in our river. It's incredible for our community. It also helps us economically. We're updating an economic study on what those fish mean to our area and our region. I'll be back when I have that report done. And just recognizing this is for our entire community. And we, again, can't rely on Salem to make these decisions for what we need for our systems. And long range, we hope to have a very robust fisheries, again, on the South Coast. And not just in the Coquille River, but in all of our rivers. And we are going to look to our community partners for your support as we go. If we need anything, we'll let you know. Right now it's that legislation and streamlining that process for our landowners and our neighbors. But I have to say that I'm really proud of the partnerships we've had with ODF&W. We had a lot to learn about each other, and we still have a lot to learn as we negotiate. But it helped, I have to tell you, when we had letters of support from the City Council, City of Coos Bay. Thank you so much. It means a lot to the governor's office, to the counties, and I just want to make sure that you know that. I think we've accomplished more than people expected. The last time we came here, we had a logo that said "Save Our Coquille Salmon." We're actually saving them today. So we are changing our logo. Just a little announcement that our new logo will now be saving our Coquille salmon, because we are making a difference. And it's not just one organization, it's our entire community. So I appreciate your time. I'm sorry if I took up too much of your time, but it's exciting for us, and just appreciate your support. I think I'll see if there's any questions.
Does anybody have a question for Chair Mead?
I just have a comment. This council has heard it many times from me, how fortunate we are to have two federally recognized tribes in this community and the contributions they make to it. And this is yet another example of that work and taking a lead, working with so many agencies to accomplish great things. I forgot that it was just 3 pair of brood stock, and to be here 2 years later with 150 pair of brood stock. On behalf of this community, I just thank you for not only your focus on this, but recognizing that this is also about the community, but from the tourist perspective, we have a lot of people that come into this community to fish, and so thank you for taking the lead on doing this important work, and we are very fortunate to have the Coquille Indian Tribe in this community.
Thank you, Council Member. And I just have to say, my previous chief told me if we were going to do this, we had to go all the way. And we are going to go all the way. We're not going to fail. So thank you for your support.
I just want to say that my 8-year-old nephew this summer caught a $100 fish, and he was super excited about it. So I'm going to have to let him know that there's a $1,000 fish still out there.
And if you knew where that one was, you might have some pretty good luck in the same spot, I hear. That's great.
Thank you so much for everything you're doing. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. I'll keep you updated as things go. Thanks.
Thank you.
I believe Councilor DeNovo has to leave by 8 o'clock, so unless there's any objection, I'd like to move item 7 ahead of item 6. And hearing no objection, we'll go to item number 7, public hearing to consider enactment of ordinance amending transient tax regulations providing for third-party administration through Oregon Department of Revenue. Who has this? You?
Yes, I will take this. Thank you. Currently, the City of Coos Bay uses a third-party administrator to collect and gather reporting for our transient lodging tax program. It is a company we've used for, in the past, to utility audits. They did those pretty successfully, uncovered some lost revenues there. So walking forward with them made good sense. We've been working with them for a few years, and we have a couple bumps in the road. And in the meantime, the state has also developed the ability to collect these taxes across the state. They didn't have that ability in the past because their system was limited to one tax rate. So they obviously wanted to collect their own taxes, and legislation was passed in 2017 that gave them the ability to do that. Then they worked on their programming, and they're ready. They've been doing it for, I think, within this last year for several different entities around the state. So we've been working, the finance director and I have been working with them to look at how this would work for us. It's obviously a benefit to our lodging facilities. They'd have one place to go to report both their state and City of Coos Bay lodging tax. There is a savings to it, a little bit. We were paying a quarterly fee to this third-party administrator. We'll still pay a fee, but it's much less. It's a $10 per return per quarter. Be a little less than $5,000 savings a year. So there's a little savings. The larger benefit, I think, is really to our lodging facilities, and then potentially helping kind of connect maybe some facilities that we're not aware of but the state is aware of, and vice versa. There may be some benefit there. So what we are presenting tonight is the required ordinance. It will update our code to be kind of in line with what the state code is for this program. And then also authorize us to work with them in developing the IGA. Nate's looked at their sample IGA and as well as the ordinance. Once we get this ordinance to them, that will drive that IGA process to start. The goal would be them taking over January 1st.
Council, do you have any questions for Nicole before I open the public hearing?
Did we get any comments? I know we're just about to open a public hearing, but have we heard any comments from any of the hoteliers in the area about this change?
We haven't spoken with them recently, but the third party we were working with did some audit work this summer. That was something that they kind of was one of their sale factors early on, was they would do some auditing. We interpreted that as looking at the non-hotel facilities. Those people usually have great records and accounting processes. However, they really just audited our hotel facilities. It was a difficult process for those locations and frustrating for many of them. So when we spoke to them at that point about potentially moving, they were definitely supportive of it. They're already using the state system. They know how it works.
So does this include the hotels and the vacation rentals?
Yes, it would be the whole program.
Great. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing. If anybody has a comment on this agenda item, please come forward.
Sorry to keep you from your 8 o'clock meeting.
It's
probably,
okay. I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Took a very good look at this. 5 different neighborhoods kind of poked around on this afternoon. The exemptions part closed a giant loophole in this new ordinance. There was some language in there that basically could be interpreted that you could run a bed and breakfast, owner concurrent occupied, and not have to pay. So that's gone. We got that fixed. The delinquency penalties in 3.55 09, and the deficiency determinations, fraud, evasion, and operator delay in 3.55100 have no changes. And that's where things are rather weak. We have, depending on how you count them, 28 right now, short-term vacation rentals. And as the assistant city manager said, we have no real problems with legitimate hotels in collecting this tax. Our concern is that we turn this over to the state, and city staff in the last 15 months or so has managed to produce 18 hotels that didn't exist 18 months ago, but they were out in our community and they were not paying this tax. We need to, as a city, if we're going to do this, we're going to have to not give up some local control and really watch the independent operator that is not going to pay. And Nicole and I believe this lady over here, Melissa, they both spent a tremendous amount of time chasing down people that are skating. And if you want to get more than $1 million in room tax, you're going to have to hold those people's feet to the fire. I have a whole bunch of terribly bad things to say about the short-term vacation rentals, but I'm not going to say it. I do think that we need to have a provision in here, deficiencies, determinations, fraud, evasion, and operator delay. $1,000 or $2,000 a day penalty would be not uncommon, as did in other communities. In other words, you don't pay, you work under the rules, you get hammered, you make nothing. And that needs to be included in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Is there any other public comment? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Nicole, having the state collect these taxes doesn't stop the city from still seeking out local rentals,
Yeah,
correct?
that's correct. If we become aware of that, you know, we not only want to have them be in compliance for the transient lodging tax program, but it's also potentially an issue for business licensing and our code department. And so this is still something that's important to us to kind of have some oversight with. If we find someone who is not in compliance with us, it's very likely they're also not in compliance with the state. So we would just communicate that to the state and help these folks be educated and hopefully come into compliance.
Nicole, do we have a process in terms of auditing? Is that something that we do on an annual basis if we, in terms of checking how many short-term vacation rentals that we have in the community, just is kind of a double check system?
So we don't have a formal process in that, you know, every quarter we go do this, every year we go do this. It's kind of been a hunt and peck kind of looking, and it's not just been us. Janice at the Visitors Center has helped with that as well. When she's uncovered some, she'll reach out and say, hey, do you guys know about this one? So we've had community members, you know, saying, I think there might be somebody down the street. And so it's really a kind of a group effort. We don't have a formal process developed here in-house.
And the penalties that were mentioned, are we, forgive my ignorance, are we required by law that we can only penalize to a certain percentage or to a certain degree, so we couldn't, I'd like everyone to pay too. I just don't know if we could get away with $1,000 penalty if they don't pay.
So actually the state's ordinance, that's the one kind of section that I left very, you know, unchanged from where we had, because their ordinance did not have that level of penalty to it. And, you know, we haven't had to use it a bunch, but when we have had to use it, it's been effective. So I think we have the $750 a day. Like if we presume they're, you know, evading tax, we have the ability to calculate, but based on history, that wasn't in the state's ordinance. So I think for now, maybe it's not best case scenario, but it is a step above where the state was kind of recommending, you know, throughout to create some consistency. But I think we want to have those greater penalties And then depending on where we go, you know, again, our code is a living, breathing item for us. We can come back if we believe that there's a need to increase that. So it has stronger teeth, we can come back to you with some recommendations.
So you're finding when you do locate a business that's not in compliance with the ordinance, that they do circle around and they're pretty quick to come into compliance?
I think I don't know about quick, I mean, that's, you know, eye of the beholder, but Melissa's actually kind of done that process. So we find them, we send out some communications, let them know what the requirements are, and they're usually pretty good about working with her to get into compliance in all aspects.
Any other further comments?
The only thing that I would say, it sounds like the more eyes you have on this process, the better. And it doesn't sound like the TPA we had in place was really doing anything. So actually having ODR involved is probably better for us as a city, because it's just another set of eyes on this process.
I agree. I do think it would be nice, I don't know what that looks like, to formalize the process, whether you're working with the, Coos Bay North Bend Visitor and Conventions Bureau, that on, an annual basis, we're doing an inventory of vacation rentals, and I think that might appease some concerns, and I think it's just responsible for us to make sure that we're, we'll double checking.
And that's likely a good partnership to have, because I do know that Janice, the VCB does try to put together all of the lodging facilities in our space, as far as the work that they do. So kind of partnering with what they're naturally wanting to do anyways, so.
Thank you, Nicole. Is there any other comment? How would you like to proceed?
I move that we amend Coos Bay Municipal Code, Chapter 3.55, Transient Lodging Tax, to allow for the Oregon Department of Revenue to administer the Transient Lodging Tax Program for the city of Coos Bay.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to enact the ordinance. Any further discussion?
Do we need to formalize that review, or we'll just work on that? Staff will work on that?
Yes, and we can
That
come back,
audit?
yeah,
Okay.
give you an idea of what we've come up with.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Melissa.
An ordinance of the City of Coos Bay amending Municipal Code 3.55 as enacted by Ordinance 2663, 1976, and previously amended by Ordinances 195, 1993, 315, 2001, and 508 in 2019. Councilor DeNovo?
Aye.
Councilor Kilmer?
Aye.
Councilor Matthews?
Aye.
Councilor Miles?
Aye.
Mayor Benetti?
Aye.
Ordinance number 562 has been duly enacted.
Thank you, Melissa. Now we'll move back to item number 6, consideration of support request from Oregon Mayors Association for state funding request addressing homelessness emergency.
And this
Nicole?
one's mine too. So we're asked by the Oregon Mayors Association to provide our support for a request that they're going to be making to the legislature. The Mayors Association created a task force of roughly 25 mayors throughout the state of Oregon, hoping to give good representation to the 240 cities that are within Oregon. The focus on this funding would be to study and come up with solutions to homelessness. They're kind of doing it in a two-pronged approach. One, the first ask is to dedicate funding, roughly $40 per resident within your city limits. That would be to cover essentially operational costs for programs that your city might do to overcome the homeless challenge. And the second part of that is a capital request. So if there are specific projects that we're looking at say, buying a piece of property, or, some communities are looking at sheltering options. Things that are going to be a little bit higher priced, we can include that on a list for the capital funding ask. We are asked to bring that before the council to get approval for that. We have been talking a little bit internally to come up with that capital list. We'd like to fine-tune that a little bit, so we're asking for your support of the request and for us to put together that list in preparation to sending it to the Mayor's Association.
Thank you, Nicole. Does the council have any questions or comments?
This just work in conjunction with the grant that the county and the cities are working on to address homelessness in our area?
Yes, the grant, the pilot project grant would still be in play, so we're hopeful this would be kind of an addition to that if it makes it through the legislature.
Thank you.
I think probably what I would say as well is, having co-chaired the homeless work group and sitting in on the meetings that commission is working on, the reality is that there are so many things that are unfunded that we're mandated to do or that we have to do to serve all of our citizens in the community. And the fact that the emphasis was put a group of mayors from communities of all sizes, because every community is facing it, to come up with an ask, an idea to tackle some of the issues, and there's a long list in this letter, I think is really important, and I wholeheartedly support this.
Any other comments?
I'll move to approve the OMA request for support and development of listing of potential capital projects with focused efforts to positively impact the unhoused in Coos Bay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the OMA request for support and development. Is there any further comment? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next is item number 8, City Manager's Report.
Yes, I'm happy to report that a number of street improvement projects are underway and some are nearing completion. That includes the driving service on Date Street in between Front Street and Bayshore. A majority of that has been taken care of. There are still sections on the two ends, but those were purposely left off in an effort to, well, those will be included when we do the parking lot project. In addition, the new driving service on westbound Central has been taken care of. Staff, not our staff, but the staff of our contractor is still working on the curb improvements at 11th. And I think it was mentioned at the last meeting that the 5th and Bennett intersection has been completed. There are street improvement projects still underway on Michigan and in the 100 block of North Watson. Some citizens have already expressed their thankfulness for the work in front of Walmart, but I would have to admit that that's actually part of a private project, although the city did require that instead of just paving the trench that they cut in for the new line, that they actually had to pave the entire length of the and width of the lane. The new boat ramp floats have been installed in East Side, and most of the new floating dock sections have been installed in Empire. As to the Empire crab and fishing dock, I would share that the public comment period for the necessary federal permits to undertake repairs have been completed. Staff's going to be working in the incoming week with our consultant to move forward with the bidding for the necessary repairs and upgrades. So that's moving forward. In addition, The new kayak launch is moving along nicely. The concrete apron and walkway was completed this past week. Unfortunately, we can't just put out the new equipment yet for the kayak launch itself. We need 28 days of cure time for that cement. But that should be completed, that project should be completed by the end of the year. And I think the only other thing I would like to mention is that staff is continuing to work with the representatives from Dutch Brothers on their donation of the old gas station next to Tokyo Bistro and the property behind that. We're reviewing quick claim language now and indemnity agreements. So I expect that to be also completed by the end of the year. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Roger. Next item is council comments. Councilor Kilmer.
The only thing I have has really been spoken about already. We are full speed ahead to fill the buses in Coos Bay and North Bend. I know that the questions about when registration opens come a little bit earlier every year, and it's true again this year, even earlier than last year. There is a significant need out there in our community, and we see it, and we feel it, and we hear it, and we are lucky to have so many generous people that make it possible to meet the need that we have in our community. So I would just encourage folks, if you do have a little extra, stop at one of those drop locations early. They're all over Coos Bay, North Bend, in the county. There's something in every community. All of the McKay's stores have drop boxes in them and special locations in each community. If you want to come down and see the excitement as we stuff the buses, that is December 3rd from 10 until 3. And Rotary will then take over and sort and get everything ready for the 10th. And registration will be at busjam.org. That's busjam.org. And that should be open later this week. It was supposed to be today, but I think they were delayed a little bit. If you have a need and you have questions, contact KDOC Radio, and they will get you to where you need to go. And that's really all I have.
Thanks, Stephanie. Councilor Matthews.
Sorry, I've been having technical difficulties all night tonight. Yeah, I'm excited for the bus jam. We got to get that trophy back into Coos Bay, so looking forward to participating with the bus jam. And also wanted to say thank you to everybody who voted. We were not in session last Tuesday, so didn't have a chance to thank everybody in public, and just saying I appreciate your public service and doing your civic duty with voting. And we still are, lower on participation in general. So if you feel so inclined, please reach out to those who have not voted in the past and see if you can get them engaged. Help us all out. Our voices are always needed in terms of how to move our community forward, and it really does. It is important, especially in smaller communities like ours. Your voice really matters, and it's always good to see high participation. It was pretty good in Coos Bay, but it can always be better. So, anyways, moving on from that. Coming up on Thanksgiving, I just want to wish everybody a happy and safe Thanksgiving. And there's a lot to be grateful for. And I am grateful for all the city staff that works so hard to make us look good. And for the city council, this has been an amazing experience working with a group of people that is able to work together and disagree at times, but also respectfully at that when we do disagree, and then move on to the next topic and be constructive. And I think that that's the way government is supposed to work, and I feel extremely blessed to be a part of a group that is exemplifying how to do it right. So that's all I have for tonight.
Thanks, Carmen. Mayor Benetti?
I also agree with Carmen. I've had some technical difficulties, so I'm glad it's just not me. But anyway, support the bus jam. I think is important that we've done every year, and try to get that trophy back. And we did have the golden shopping cart that hopefully, where does that go now? Since I think I secured it at City Hall, does it go to one of the schools? Roger? What happens with that?
It was
Stephanie?
retrieved earlier today in anticipation that it would go to one of the 2 school districts, which I assume will be Coos Bay schools.
Of course. Anyway, also, Chair Mead and the Copewell Tribe, what an outstanding job they have done on the restoration, and it's fantastic, and I'm glad they've got the community support behind them, and I'm glad that we, as a city, were able to participate in that, and I look forward to the successes they do have. Anyway, again, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. It's been a wonderful year to this point, and I want to thank the voters for participating, and thank Carmen for bringing that up. And that's the end of my comments this evening. And Rob, again, thank you for taking over and doing a good job. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. I have the Coos Bay Public Library October report. For the month of October, the library had 7,057 total library visits. They had 17,910 items checked out. Of those, only 496 were digital downloads. They also had 10,198 wireless internet connections and 26 programs with a program attendance of 2,661. So thank you to Sammy and her staff for continuing to provide a great asset to the community. I would also like to congratulate the Marshfield High School volleyball team on bringing home the school's first state volleyball championship. I believe, at least in my head, that's at least the 3rd state championship that Marshfield's won since I've been on the council, and I think we need to do a better job of a council of maybe inviting them to a meeting or something just so we can congratulate them. And then lastly, although they didn't really have a choice, I would like to thank the voters for re-electing us. I will say that those write-in votes will keep us on our toes, though, so thank you for that. And with that, that's all I have, and there being no further business, I will adjourn the council meeting. Thank you.